Karnataka once again. Warm welcome viewers, you're watching To The Point. I'm Preeti Choudhary. KS Eshwarappa, BJP minister, has stepped down. India Today's news break stands confirmed with the Karnataka Minister for Rural Development and Panchayati Raj, KS Eshwarappa, set to tender his resignation to the party. While the decision to sack Eshwarappa came from the party's top brass, he said he decided to step down himself. Will his resignation change ways for the Bombay government? Because the Congress, meanwhile, says resignation's not enough. We want the arrest of a man who's facing corruption and abetment to suicide charge.
India Today's news break is confirmed. Karnataka Minister KS Eshwarappa is quitting the government. He will be tendering his resignation on Friday after being blamed by a contractor in his alleged suicide note. Eshwarappa was earlier adamant that he will not resign.
ऐसा लिख कर दिया था, वो डेथ नोट है। ये दोनों के बारे में वो स्पष्ट देने के लिए मैं उनको पूछ रहा हूँ। इस्तीफा बोर्ड जो पूछ रहा है, डेफिनेटली मैं इस्तीफा तो नहीं देगा।
मैं मुख्यमंत्री से और हमारा बहुत परिवार के नेताओं से सबसे मैं बातचीत किया है। उन सबको कोई भी तकलीफ मत आना, इसलिए मैं आज मुंबई के पास बातचीत किया है। उस समय में मैं मेरा मंत्री स्थान को इस्तीफा देने के लिए डिसीजन लिया है, उनको भी बोला है।
Sources tell India Today the decision to sack Eshwarappa came from the top brass. Prime Minister Narendra Modi was briefed by National General Secretary B.L. Santosh on the crisis that has shaken the state BJP. Later, BJP President J.P. Nadda called CM Basavaraj Bommai and conveyed the leadership's decision. Sources also say Nadda will be visiting Karnataka for an executive meeting.
ಸಂಪೂರ್ಣ ವಿಶ್ವಾಸ ಇದೆ. ನಾನು ಹೇಳಕ್ಕಾಗಷ್ಟು ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಪಾತ್ರ ಎಲ್ಲ ತಪ್ಪಿಲ್ಲ, ಹೀಗಾಗಿ ನನಗೆ ನೈತಿಕತೆ ಇದೆ. ಆದರೆ ಈಗ ಅದನ್ನಿಟ್ಕೊಂಡು ನಾವು ಮುಂದುವರೆದ್ರೆ ಭಾಳಷ್ಟು ಜನಕ್ಕೆ ಮಾತಾಡೋ ಅವಕಾಶ ಸಿಗುತ್ತೆ, ಇರಿಸ್ಮುರಿಸಾಗ್ತದೆ. ಅದಾಗೋದು ಬೇಡ. ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೇನು ಪ್ರೆಷರ್ ಇಲ್ಲ. ನಾವು ನಡೆದ ವಿದ್ಯಮಾನ ಸ್ವಂತ ಸ್ವಪ್ರೇರಣೆಯಿಂದ ಸನ್ಮಾನ್ಯ ಈಶ್ವರಪ್ಪ ರಾಜೀನಾಮೆಯನ್ನು ಕೊಟ್ಟರು.
The Karnataka BJP is caught in a storm after a contractor who allegedly died by suicide blamed the minister in a note. Santosh Patil, a BJP worker himself, claimed that Eshwarappa was asking for a 40% cut to clear the bills of contractors. Since then, the Congress was breathing down Bommai's neck to sack Eshwarappa, holding protests both in Bengaluru and the national capital Delhi.
I don't feel this is a victory. Resigning is not a solution. Case of corruption has to be registered. Then he has to be arrested. First, these two issues should happen. Our agitation is not the agitation of D.K. Shivakumar or Congress Party or Siddaramaiah. It is the voice of the people of Karnataka.
Eshwarappa's decision to resign may not solve the problems for the faction-ridden Karnataka BJP. The minister's supporters hit the streets in Shivamogga in his support. The latest scandal threatens to add to the woes of CM Bommai, who is being accused of a governance deficit by his rivals. Bureau Report, India Today.
I want to cut across right now immediately to my colleague Nolan Pinto before we go across to our political panel this evening. Nolan, you know, what's interesting in all of this is, though KS Eshwarappa has decided to quit, he's done it practically on his terms. And this morning with what happened, that, you know, massive show of strength from Shimoga where he told his party workers he's practically coming back.
Well, absolutely. In fact, it was a show of force for Minister KS Eshwarappa. We are waiting for him. We are told that in the next 45 odd minutes or less than that, he should reach the Chief Minister's residence and tender his resignation finally. However, what happened in Shimoga was basically to show that I am still over here. I'm not going to go down. I'm still very strong and a force to reckon with in that place. And that's the reason why, Preeti, he's actually coming to Bengaluru with a large number of supporters. We do not know, about 50, 60 cars with his supporters. This is what our sources tell us. And all along the way, he has stopped at important places. He stopped at an important Mata in Tumukuru to seek the blessings of a seer, very, very famous Lingaj seer. So he is saying that, yes, I'm stepping down now. Everyone knows it's because of the BJP High Command who actually told him to step down. But he's also stating that I'm not done anything wrong yet. I'm stepping down because I do not want to sort of create more embarrassment for the government, and I will come out fine. So this is what he says. In fact, he's got full support from many of his cabinet colleagues today, with former Chief Minister Yediyurappa saying that he will come out clean and once more become a minister.
You know, Nolan, we're going to come right back to you. Nolan Pinto there waiting right outside Mr. Bommai's residence. That is where Mr. KS Eshwarappa would be coming in to tender in his resignation. And it seems he's coming in with a massive show of strength from Shimoga, where he practically told the cadre there, his supporters, that he's going to come back. He's just stepping down right now. Cutting across to our political panelists this evening, Mohan Krishna, spokesperson Bharatiya Janata Party, Brijesh Kalappa, spokesperson Congress. Mohan Krishna, you know, I want to ask you, why is the resignation of Mr. KS Eshwarappa being accepted? Because it seems that the BJP Karnataka unit thinks he's done absolutely nothing wrong in the first place. Then why accept the resignation?
Good evening, Preeti. Let me start with a very simple note. I don't know from where you got that 40% cut money and all. I will show you the letter what Santosh Patil has written to Mr. Honorable Prime Minister Mr. Modi as well as to Mr. Giriraj Singh. And I will show you the letter from the Giriraj Singh office sent to RDPR secretary also. Let me clarify a lot of things to you today. Congress, they are lying to the people of Karnataka. I will quote the letter of Santosh K. Patil which he has written to the Honorable Prime Minister as well as to RDPR Central Union Minister Giriraj Singh. Minister associates also annoying me to provide them commission for completed work. Honorable Sir, I am in great tension and have a huge pressure of the creditors who has given me the finance on interest. If the payment and the work order not given on immediate basis, then unwillingly I do not have any option for myself except suicide. Let me come back to the headlines of the subject of the letter. Sir, issue of work order and payment of completed work at Belgaum district, Hidalgo village, Karnataka state, written on 11/3/22. And the work has been completed by 12/2/21. Preeti, this is the Congress, hypocrisy, Congress, double standards. I'm showing you, if you want, I'll send a copy of that letter right away to you. You can show it on your camera to the people of India today. How the Congress and Siddaramaiah, DK Shivakumar, they are lying to the country today. What is that they are thinking?
Okay. Mr. Krishna, I want to ask you before I bring in Mr. Kalappa. The fact is, you think he's done nothing wrong, then why is he resigning, sir?
Let me tell you, when there is an allegation, to come out clean, the only way is to give the resignation, face the investigation, and the fair investigation will be done as told by Honorable Chief Minister of Karnataka, Mr. Bommai. Preeti, just give me 30 seconds before you give it to Brijesh Kalappa. I will tell you why Congress is doing this. Today on your show, I will tell you, in the assembly, DK Shivakumar has challenged Eshwarappa. Congress wanted to suck the blood of Eshwarappa. In the assembly itself, Mr. DK Shivakumar did a Gundagardi, which all the channels have shown throughout India that day. That day he has taken an oath in the assembly that I will teach a lesson मैं सेटलमेंट करूंगा ईश्वरप्पा को बताया था। आज वो सेटलमेंट कर रहे हैं, लेकिन एक बात बताता हूं आपको, सच बताता हूं, भगवान और काम का जो भी है, अगर सच निकला तो सच इन्वेस्टिगेशन के बाद अगर वो गलती किया है तो उसको फांसी होगा। और बीजेपी को अच्छी तरफ से मालूम है वो निर्दोषी है। निर्दोषी को कैसे बोलना बोले तो you have to surrender to the investigation. That is the reason he has given the resignation. Let me tell you, Mr. D.K. Shivakumar and Siddaramaiah, you are lying to the world. That
Okay.
40%, 40%, 40%. You are lying to the world. Let them prove in this letter where it is. I will throw it to you.
All right. Mr. Kadapa, would you want to come in? This is a figment of the Congress's imagination and they are feeding it in general space. However, though,
Absolutely.
you know, okay, Mr. Krishna, however, though, we're going to play the excerpts of that letter. But Mr. Kadapa, over to you.
Yeah, Preeti, it's the figment of the imagination of Karnataka, of the people of Karnataka, that, Mr. Santosh Patil is no longer with us. It's a figment of the people of Karnataka, of imagination, that he had written to the Prime Minister. It's a figment of imagination that the Contractors Association had written to the Prime Minister earlier, a year ago. It's a figment of the imagination of the people of Karnataka that Mr. Prime Minister Modi had come to Karnataka and had made an allegation in 2018 that Mr. Siddaramaiah was running a 10% government. And after that, he went completely quiet. When the contractors were writing to Mr. Modi and seeking his intervention for over a year, Mr. Modi was totally quiet. Now, after that, when Santosh Patil, who was a Hindu Vahini secretary, national secretary, and otherwise, the BJP was consistently saying that, look, these contractors are all congressmen. Now, when a Hindu Vahini secretary had made an allegation about 40%, corruption, and at that time, also Mr. Modi didn't intervene. And if Mr. Modi had intervened at the right time, perhaps Santosh Patil would have been alive. Now, this is all the figment of the imagination of people of Karnataka, and none of this is really true. In fact, Mr. Santosh Patil, according to the BJP spokesperson, is perhaps well and alive. And Mr. Eshwarappa is, this is all the figment of the imagination of all of us, and including the media. So, in fact, the fact that Mr. Santosh Patil had not just written to the Prime Minister, but had also spoken to several members of the press fraternity, several journalists. And his last message was also to the journalists, saying that, look, if something were to happen to me, this was all owing to Mr. Eshwarappa. All this is the figment of imagination of certain people, and those people are all lying to the country. This is something which I think we should all accept insofar as Mr. Mohan Krishna's words are concerned. Important thing is that here
I'll
is
come
a
to you, sir.
gentleman
Let him complete. Go
who
ahead,
has been
Mr.
asked
Kadapa,
to
make your
resign.
point.
He has been asked to put in his papers. He's obviously not doing it of his own volition. He's being compelled. He's being arm twisted into resigning. Otherwise, where's the show of strength? Coming into the capital city with 800 cars, with so many of his supporters. What's the point in making a show of strength? He should have, at the right time, when Santosh Patil was beseeching him that please help me out. I've already invested 4 crore rupees in government lands. And he has built roads, he has built buildings, and he has built, virtually everything. And he was not being paid. And at that time, Mr. Eshwarappa said, no, there's no, order to that effect. And now, when everything has happened, he's suddenly come to his senses and he's coming with a big retinue to resign.
All right, I want to bring back Mr. Krishna into this conversation. Mr. Krishna, isn't it correct that the Karnataka Straits Contractor Association last year wrote that they are asked to pay a 40% cut in public works? Did it not happen? Is it not a complaint right now registered? It is, sir. I have that letter with me. I have the bona fide letter by the Karnataka Contractors Association, which was sent to then your chief minister at that point of time, Mr. Yediyurappa's office, saying a 40% cut is demanded of. I'd also like to quote from the suicide note that you're quoting from, which clearly, and I'll quote, RDPR Minister KS Eshwarappa is solely responsible for my death. I am taking this decision, keeping my aspirations aside. Mr. Eshwarappa is responsible for my death. Correct or incorrect? Would you like to read out that part as well, Mr. Krishna?
Absolutely, Preeti. You read that letter. I have that letter, Contractors Association letter in front of me. You show me where it is 40% cut money. Please show me.
Sir, maybe you and I have different letters. Do you have the suicide note as well? Maybe you and I have different letters. But do you have the suicide note with you?
I have. No. Please. Let me clarify you.
Please do.
In that Contractors Association letter, it is clearly written. I will show you. 40% is the total expenses for the things which are happening today, including the GST 28%, bank interest 2%. On top of it,
sir, I'll come to you. Mr. Kadapa, I'll come back to you.
On top of it, we have to buy money from the outside. For that, we have to pay money. Let me tell you, Contractors Association never said that 40% is a cut money. Please, Congress is not the Karnataka's voice. People in Karnataka, they are blaming Congress. They have thrown Congress out of power for only simple reason. They have fooled people all these years. I take this word, Mr. Brajesh Kalapa, go and tell your people, where is 40% cut money in the Santosh Patil letter as well as in Contractors Association letter. You are lying to the people of the country and you are lying to the media. What are you doing?
Okay, sir, once again. Okay, sir, calm down.
I'm showing you the letter.
Sir, calm down. Sir, no need to scream, calm down. The fact is, I have a letter, you have a letter. We could have very different letters that we are quoting out of. But do you have the same suicide letter? Does your suicide letter, which was pretty much a dying declaration, a suicide note is a dying declaration of someone, you would agree under the purview of law. Does that suicide letter hold Mr. Eshwarappa responsible for the death of the contractor, Mr. Patil, in this question?
Let me answer to you. Then
yes.
Why Mr. Santosh Patil has returned to Honorable Prime Minister as well as Mr. Giriraj Singh, RDPR Minister, Union Minister. Minister Associates also annoying me to provide them commission. He has not mentioned Minister Associates. You should understand, these Congress people, they have only one agenda. Let me tell you on your show today, why they want to suck the blood of Eshwarappa. He is a Hindu force from Shimoga. Yediyurappa and Eshwarappa are like Lava Kusha in Karnataka. They want to break BJP in Karnataka. Let me tell on this show to DK Shivkumar, Siddaramaiah and all these people, it is not possible for you.
All right, sir, I'll ask you again as I bring in Mr. Kadapa back into this conversation. Okay, Mr. Krishna,
and we come back to power, we will show what we are.
Sir, I will come right back to you. But before I bring in Mr. Kadapa into this conversation, I want to ask you. You have the suicide letter with you, sir. You're quoting out of it. Does it not, yes or no, hold directly Mr. KS Eshwarappa responsible for the death of the contractor in question? Does it not? Yes or no? Doesn't it say verbatim, RDPR Minister KS Eshwarappa is solely responsible for my death? Does it say that or not? Do we have the same letter is what I'm asking you.
See, today I will send a letter, WhatsApp letter to Preeti Choudhary saying that on this India Today show, she has lamented me. So I am going for a suicide. Preeti Choudhary is responsible. Are you responsible for that, Preeti Choudhary? I will ask you a simple question. Are you going to be?
Sir, a suicide note is a dying declaration, is what it usually is treated as.
I am telling you, I am dying now. I will die in next 30 minutes. And I am writing a WhatsApp message to you.
Sir, I will be probed for abetment to suicide. I will be probed under the purview of the law. I will be probed for abetment of suicide. Whether I have instigated or not, the law will hold. But it's not me in question. It's not me in question. Mr. Krishna, it's not me in question. Mr. Kadapa, would you want to come in? You're trying to suck the blood of Eshwarappa, who's a true Hindu icon, for the BJP. Nothing can deny the importance of Mr. Eshwarappa. He's been one of the 3 founding members of the BJP's Karnataka unit, along with Mr. Anand Kumar and Mr. Yediyurappa. He was the 3rd pillar.
No, may or may not be. We don't care about that. Point is that in 2012, Mr. Eshwarappa was the Deputy Chief Minister of Karnataka when the Lokayukta raided him. And at that time, they found a currency counting machine in his residence, in his official residence. And apart from that, they found 28 other properties. And those 28 other properties, of course, the Lokayukta has seen those properties. But the point is that why does a minister who earns about ₹1 lakh a month, why does he have to keep a currency counting machine in his premises?
Mr. Karappa, at that point of time, Mr. Eshwarappa had given the explanation of the currency machine as that he has businesses, therefore he needs the machine.
No, that he had spoken in 2015. When he spoke in 2015, he made a reference to the currency counting machines and he said that I have businesses. Now, let me ask a question to my friend in the BJP, that when you're holding public office as minister, and I've held the office of minister, I've held the rank of minister, does he or not know that the rules prevent you from operating your personal businesses? Do you know that or not, Mr. Krishna? When you don't know these basic facts, then how can you come up with an answer saying that...
I will come to you, sir. I'll come to you. Let him finish. Let Mr. Karappa finish. He heard you out patiently.
You can't operate your personal businesses. I hope you know this. At least let's put the facts on record. Giving statements and so on is a different point. Now, what I'm saying is that Mr. Eshwarappa has a long history of corruption, right? Now, here is a Hindu Vahini secretary who has made that allegation. Mr. Eshwarappa is equally a so-called Hindu. So why did he not oblige this gentleman? This is the question. Is the Hindudom only confined to doing politics? And where money extraction is concerned, then he will also extract money from a Hindu activist? Is this the kind of Hindudom that is practiced in the BJP and that Mr. Eshwarappa practices? At the least he could have done is gone soft on Santosh Patil, who was also a Hindu activist. That's the least that one would have expected of Mr. Eshwarappa. But why did he not do that? Because money is more important, power is more important, and the feel of power is far more important to Mr. Eshwarappa than anything else. Now, naturally, when you involve yourself in all these things, you have to pay the price, and Mr. Eshwarappa has to pay the price.
All right. Okay. Mr. Krishna, you heard... Yes, sir. Please respond. Yes, respond.
Let me ask a simple question to Mr. Preeti Choudhary and Congress people. कहाँ से आगे आपको हिंदी के ऊपर इतना प्यार कर्नाटक में? जब सिद्धरामैया ने 21 people को kill किया under his belt. Mr. George was the home minister then. हिंदू का प्यार कहाँ था तब? इतना लोगों को मरवा दिया आप. आपको कौन हटाया मालूम है सरकार से? लोगों ने हटाया, हम नहीं हटाया, लोगों ने आपको हटाया. 124 से
Congress party has got more votes than the BJP.
Please listen to me. Don't interfere.
Okay, go one. Okay, sir, concluding points there. Please finish, Mr. Krishna.
From where you have got the love for the Hindus today? You are saying that Hindu Vahini secretary. Hindu Vahini secretary we are capable of. People Hindus who are staying in Karnataka or throughout India, they know what BJP is. You don't have to teach us one thing. Second thing you are asking, you might be a liar. You are quoting lot of things. But let me tell you morally, what moral you have? Your DK Shukumar is undergoing a trial of DA and ED cases. What moral you have?
All right. May I conclude this debate? I appreciate both of you for joining us. Thank you, gentlemen. The fact is, it's not about a debate of who's the better Hindu, be it the Congress or the Bharatiya Janata Party. It's about Mr. KS Eshwarappa. Well, he's finally decided to step down. He's been charged with corruption, abetment to suicide, which is pretty much a dying declaration when it comes to where the suicide note is in question. However, in the next about 30 minutes, Mr. Eshwarappa, with a cavalcade of 60 cars, would be pulling in to Mr. Bommai, the Chief Minister of Karnataka's residence, to tender in that resignation with a promise to his cadre that he will come back. The Congress, meanwhile, has said resignation is not enough. Arrest the man. We're going to keep a keen eye on all developments. Thank you for watching.